Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much you want excellence in your life, you find yourself surrounded by mediocrity in your habits, on your job, in your relationships, and even just with yourself, your own personal integrity, right? So, in this episode, I'm going to show you how to finally reduce your love affair, your appetite for mediocrity, and how to finally taste the sweet fruit of excellence on a consistent basis in your life. If you're new to the channel, my name is Thaddeus Ford. I'm an artist, a coach, and a heart attack survivor. I teach people how to break the chains in their lives and to turn tragedy into triumph. So when we talk about mediocrity, mediocrity is something that is extremely subtle, right? More times than not, you don't even know that you have a love affair, a relationship, or an appetite for mediocrity. It's so subtle. It just kind of creeps up in your life, and it creeps up so slow sometimes, oftentimes, that you don't even know it, and it becomes your norm. It becomes your comfort zone, as it were. And mediocrity lowers the bar in every area of your life. It lowers the bar in your relationships. It lowers the bar for you at work, on your job, in your career. It lowers the bar in your integrity, right? What you do when nobody's looking, that's your integrity. It lowers the bar even in your self-image. You know, sometimes we don't even realize that over time, our own self-image is lowered, or how we perceive ourselves is lowered, and we don't even realize that that subtle creep up of mediocrity is the cause of it. And the danger in all of that is that you cannot want excellence but still have a love affair with mediocrity. In every area of your life, if you endeavor to have excellence in that area of your life, and we all should, you cannot have a relationship, a love affair, a taste for mediocrity in that area if you expect to see excellence fruit in that area of your life. And most people want to feed off of the fruit of excellence. They want the results of excellence in their life, but they want to also simultaneously continue to consume mediocrity. And you just can't have that. You cannot have that. You can't consume mediocre things, have mediocre relationships with mediocre people, and expect excellent fruit to be the result of that. And the first thing that we have to do in our quest to reduce our love of mediocrity, the first thing that we have to do is to recognize that we even have a love affair with it. You have to be able to identify the fact that you actually have a taste for, a love affair with mediocrity in order to do something about it. You can't fix what you don't know exists, right? And make no mistake about it, we all at some point or time in our lives have a chain attached to us to mediocrity, to some mediocre connection, some mediocre content, some mediocre place or space that we are consciously and subconsciously chained to, right? And if you can't identify that first and foremost, then you cannot break the chain. You can't be free from it. You can't be free from it, right? So, and that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that you can't free somebody who doesn't know that they're a slave. You cannot free someone who doesn't realize that they're trapped, right? So we have to recognize first and foremost that I am trapped to this mindset. I am chained to this way of thinking, right? And as we go along on our daily lives, that's the thing. It's almost like we're lulled to sleep in our day-to-day lives. We don't realize that we are chained to these mediocre things in our lives. But that's what we're here to do, to recognize and come to terms with the fact that we indeed are, and we're here to break those chains off of our lives, right? And awareness is the beginning of freedom. awareness is the beginning of freedom in every area of our lives. You have to know that you are a slave to X, Y, and or Z in order to be free from it. And that's what we all want. We all want to be free from the things that weigh us down. There is no way to achieve excellence while being weighed down by something knowingly or unbeknownst to you. You cannot break chains you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot be free from something unless you recognize that the need to be free from it. And that's what we're here to do. You have to know how you got in this position. You have to recognize the breadcrumb trail that led you to where you are currently. Mediocrity, just like weight gain, is a slow creep. It does not happen overnight, right? Whether it's 10 pounds or 100 pounds, the process starts the same. We have to recognize where we are. You got to get on that scale and recognize from whence you've come, right? And you have to examine, you've got to pull back the curtains of your life and examine, how did I get in this predicament, this relationship, this entrapment? How did I stay on this job for 15 years with no promotion? Right? How did I stay in this unloving, unhealthy marriage for X amount of years and not recognize the need to make a shift? Right? We've got to retrace our steps and recognize, how did we get here? Right? And if you retrace the steps, you're going to see a pattern of your habits, and your habits will tell the story. Rather than focusing so much on the be, do, have, which is important, the first thing we have to do before we be, do, have is recognize the weight that weighs us down, the weight that drags us down in our pursuits of purpose. And once you retrace those steps, once you recognize, this is how I got here, that data that you have collected, that's where the gold is. That's where the treasure, as it were, is. The data that you receive. How did I get here? Well, I, consumed a diet of double Whoppers thrice a week, and now I'm here. Right? So the beauty, the information held within that data is the key to your success, is the key to breaking the chain, right? And so if you have a long history of consuming, and when I say consuming, I just mean whatever you're taking in, whatever you are on a regular basis tolerating, whatever you are on a regular basis entertaining, if it's low level and you have been consuming that for an exorbitant amount of time, then you have to recognize that it's not going to change overnight. And that's where many of us fail, is we get religion and we say, okay, I'm done with it. And I want it to change overnight. I'm done. It's over, X, Y, Z. And that's just not how it works all the time. The punishment is commensurate with the crime. Long years of mediocrity take time to undo. And you have to be willing to be in this for the long haul, right? You have to be willing to recognize at the beginning of a journey that this may not happen at the snap of my fingers. It may not happen at the drop of a dime, but I'm in this to win this, and I'm going to stay committed to this journey. And the way to do that is to not be in such a hurry to get to the destination. It's the journey. Along the path is where you get the most growth, consistent growth and change and paradigm shifts that you're going to need to maintain where you are once you get to the destination, right? And we're talking small shifts, not extremes, right? Change is built through incremental shifts, not one big leap. And oftentimes, that's what we do. We trade one extreme for the other, right? We say, okay, well, I'm done with this, and we're going to trade one extreme of eating poorly on a regular basis, and then just immediately try to shift without making strategic changes when I'm trying to get after, right? Small steps strategically made and thought out is far more beneficial than going like the pendulum swing, one extreme to the next, one extreme to the next. And just like Atomic Habits, the well-known book, suggests, literally all we have to do is be 1% better today than we were yesterday. And when you look at things from that perspective, it reduces the added pressure of trying to build Rome in a day. Listen, none of us know when, where, or how we're going to meet our demise. So because of that, I want you to shift your mindset from being in such a rush to accomplish every single thing that you think you need to accomplish, right? Have faith, and be grateful, be humble, and just get up and be 1% better every day than you were yesterday. And if at the end of your life, all you did was become 15% better than you were previously, then that's your win. That's your win, and be happy with your win, right? So just be 1% better, reduce this added stress of trying to rebuild Rome in a day, and be on this journey for the long haul. There are times where drastic changes made in an instant, or rather immediately, can be beneficial to you. If you know that you're tethered to someone who is beneath your standard of living, who serves no purpose other than to comfort you and lull you to sleep with their mediocrity because it's familiar or comfortable or non-threatening. If you know that, if you've identified that, just cut it off. Just cut it off. Right? So that kind of, just block them. We all have blocking features in almost in every area of our life. Just block them. Right? That kind of drastic change can be the catalyst that sparks you. Right? And there are many other examples. You know what you're doing. You know oftentimes that you are tethered to something that is low vibrations, that have nothing to do with the person that you endeavor to be. You know it. And if making a sudden, instant, immediate, drastic change by removing yourself from that equation, if that is what your heart is telling you to do, then follow through. But strategic planning often is far more sustainable. So the onus is on you. When you do inventory of your life, you know where drastic change would have a great effect here. Whereas more strategic, subtle, sustainable planning will be better here. It's a combination of two. You should implement both in your life, and they both can complement each other, right? So we have to be willing to, again, reduce our love affair not only with mediocrity, but with speed. The race is not given to the swift. The race is not given to the swift, right? It's the one who endures. So what we're looking for when we're talking about real change, we're looking for sustainability. The changes that I'm making right now, can I sustain them? Because what does it matter that you make drastic changes and you do well for a day or three, right? What does that matter? That's just you placating yourself and whatever you want to call it. That's what that is. Self-soothing. Maybe you just like to feel good for a day or two before you go back to doing what you know you shouldn't do. Maybe that's your thing. But if you're really, really ready to change and break these chains off of your life, then sustainability is where it's at. Because the reality is that sustainability is what's going to give you the W at the end of this race called your life. Sustainability is what's going to give you that W at the end of your life. So, some examples of making changes that are more sustainable. If you are struggling with alcohol and you want to reduce that in your life, if not cut it out, instead of just going cold turkey. And again, for some people, that is the drastic change that needs to happen yesterday. But let's talk about sustainability. So let's say you stop at a bar that's along the route from work to home Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you realize that that's becoming detrimental to your health, your relationships, your integrity, whatever the case may be. Instead of just saying, I'm not going to drink this week, right? Maybe a more sustainable, actionable step is, I'm just going to take a different route home, right? So it's shifting our mindset like that and giving ourselves grace, right? Because, my mentor always talks about how none of us need really to be reminded of how terrible we are. None of us really need to be reminded of the terrible things we do. So we've got to stop beating ourselves up for this human experience that we're having. So, you didn't just start drinking too much yesterday. Like, this is something that's built up over time. So start with a sustainable step. Just take a different route home. Those are the kinds of examples that you can sustain that will then reduce your desire for the thing that you want to remove in your life. And that's what we're talking about. How do we reduce our desire, our cravings for these low-level people, places, and things? And there is no one size fits all for your strategy. That's what I'm trying to suggest to you, that drastic changes can work for some things, and more subtle strategic steps can work for some things. It's a combination of the two. And there is no remedy, one size fits all remedy. There is no one size fits all remedy for all things, right? Because every chain has its own key. Every chain has its own key, and what breaks one chain may not break the other. I'll say that again. Every chain has its own key, and what breaks one chain over here may not break this one over there, right? So you've got to use your discernment, trial and error, wise counsel to discern what is the best method for breaking this chain over here? What is the best method for reducing my love affair with mediocrity over here? And just like the example of working out and our health, one of the best things you can do for yourself if you endeavor to get in shape is to get around somebody who's in shape. And more times than not, that could be a personal trainer, but it could also be a friend. And what I mean by that is, you didn't get overweight overnight, and your mindset, your habits is what got you to this place. So that habit, that mindset that got you to this place is the same mindset that you currently have. Now, you might have a nugget, a seedling of a new mindset within you, but rest assured, the mindset that got you here is the one that still prevails. So it behooves us to connect with people that have been where we have been, but are where we're trying to go. Accountability is amazing. Find trusted people, advisors, mentors, coaches, whomever. The keyword, the caveat being trusted. Because if you're serious about making change, you're going to need to connect with people you can actually trust. Because rest assured, there is a large demographic, large is relative, but there is a demographic of people, places, things, and scenarios in this world who are devoted to you remaining the same for many reasons that I've touched on in other podcasts. And I'll just touch on it right here just for kicks and giggles. But Your mediocrity is the thing that they feed off of to remain mediocre in their lives. So you're going to need to build a team, maybe not even a team immediately. One person can be the change, right? But you're going to need to have somebody in your life who you can trust, who you can borrow their integrity, borrow their faith, borrow whatever you need from them as you build this within yourself. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we are liars, hypocrites, if we pretend like we have everything we need to do the job that we are called to do right now. We just don't. We just don't. And I love that we don't, because that keeps us connected. That keeps us humble. That keeps us understanding that it takes a village. It takes a village, right? So accountability keeps you from stopping short of your capacity. How many times have you been to the gym in your efforts to get in shape, and you put a certain amount of weight on the bar, and it's a little bit of a struggle, so and a little bead of sweat drops down right here, so you say, I'm killing it, I'm doing it. It's a little, oh yeah, it's a little bit of struggle, right? You bring a trainer into that scenario, and they're going to assess whether or not you are actually killing it or not. They may recommend that, no, let's put some more weight on that bar, right? And now it's more of a struggle, right? And we don't know our full capacity. We don't know what we truly can handle. Oftentimes, we need trusted people around us to put a little bit more weight on this thing so that we can actually build the strength that we need for where we're going. And that's the thing. More times than not, we don't know what we really need for where we're going. We just want to get there. But God knows that when you get here, you're going to have 10x more haters there than you do now. So if you're here now wanting to be there, and you don't have the patience and the grace and the wisdom to deal with the 2.5 haters you have now, you are not in a place where you're going to be ready to deal with the 200,000 haters you may have when you get there. So find somebody who's been where you are, but is where you want to be, to help you recognize how much weight you need to put on that bar right now to develop the strength, the tenacity for where it is you want to be. Because left alone, we always stop short. Guidance pushes us past our limits. Guidance, mentors, coaches, trusted advisors, they push us past our limits because they know what's required for where we're going. Here's the thing. Reducing your appetite for mediocrity is a daily choice, not a one-time decision. As I said previously, none of this is a one-size-fits-all bag. You have to wake up daily and recognize that choosing differently on a daily, regular basis is going to be the thing that reduces, if not eliminate, your love affair and your desire, your cravings for mediocrity, right? It's not a one-time event. It's a daily choosing. And you have to recognize where you are. You've got to take inventory. You've got to imagine that you are a business. And just like every business that is selling a product, a service, what have you, they've got to take inventory. They've got to know, what do they currently have? What do they need for where they're trying to go, right? If it's Black Friday, Best Buy knows that, okay, people are going to want these TVs. So it's coming up. Black Friday is coming up. We have to have a certain amount of TVs. If you know that time is ticking, you're getting a little bit older, this world is changing, this world is getting faster and faster, but you have this vision, you have this dream, this goal planted in you, you know that. You know, okay, I'm not going to be here forever. And this is not about striving. This is not about rushing, but it is about honesty, because none of us are promised tomorrow. So with that understanding, hey man, I gotta get up, get out and get something. Right? So with that knowledge, you've got to do inventory and recognize who you are today and where you want to be, what needs to be removed, what needs to be added. And I can promise you this, before you start adding a bunch of stuff, make sure you have space. Make sure you have the floor space internally, mentally. Make sure you have the floor space to receive what you need to receive to do what you were called to do. And how do we do that? It's just like cleaning out the closet. It's like cleaning out the storage bin, right? It's like removing this old couch that you've had for 32 years that's tethered and worn, and you know you want a new couch. Well, get rid of that old one first so that you can make room for this new thing. Right? That's what I mean when I say take inventory. Reduce your appetite for mediocrity. Stop filling up your space mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Stop filling up your space with mediocrity and then being dumbfounded when there is no room to receive or sustain the greatness all around you. It's all around you. Excellence, abundance is all around you. You don't see it because you have consumed a diet of mediocrity for far too long. There's a syndrome, and my wife and I keep talking about this, and I forget where I picked it up. So if you know what I'm talking about, put it in the chat. But there's maybe not a syndrome, but there's this thought process, this idea that whatever you pursue or whatever you see, for instance, when my wife and I were car shopping a few months ago, and we were trying to decide which brand, which make, so forth and so on, whatever make of car we were pursuing at a given time, all of a sudden we started seeing that car or that make of car everywhere. Whereas before, we just hadn't really noticed it because it wasn't on our radar, right? So whatever it is that you are consuming, that is precisely what you're going to see in the world. If you are consuming mediocrity on a regular, consistent basis, it's like the gravitational pull towards mediocrity is like a magnet to you. But that does not change the fact that excellence and abundance is all around you. It's just cut off to you. It's cut off to you because you don't have the foresight to recognize that it exists all around me. So how do you shift that? You shift that by reducing or eliminating your love affair, your appetite for mediocrity, and develop as a result. The fruit of doing that is you get to now experience the abundance that's always been here, right? So you're not really doing anything. When you start to recognize the abundance all around you, it's because the reduction of mediocrity has caused you to recognize what always existed that was beautiful and abundant and wonderful. You don't have to strive for the beauty, the abundance, the excellence. You will have a newfound ability to receive it, to recognize it and receive it once you reduce your love affair with mediocrity. Remind yourself every day that this is strategic. You have to be intentional about wanting this change in your life. Be in it for the long haul. Don't try to rebuild Rome in a day. Give yourself grace. Find accountability partner or partners, hopefully, that can help you along this journey. And at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, recognize I get to break the chain. It's a privilege to receive this kind of data that you now have everything you need to break these chains off of you. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait. You don't need for them to change. You don't need for this to change. All you need is the desire and the passion and the wherewithal to say, I get to break these chains. And that's what I want to help you do. If this video, if this podcast helps you, let me know. I love hearing from you. If you have not subscribed already, go ahead and do that right now. Hit the bell so you can receive notifications when I drop another one weekly. Until the next time, break the chain, y'all. Break the chain. Peace.